Silver and gold investors, what if the US dollar collapsed, became worthless overnight? What if you woke up and suddenly those paper dollars that everyone in America thought were worth something were suddenly worth a lot less? Now, look, the chances of that happening are probably pretty slim, but there's a reason why we can talk about it and why we need to talk about it, because if we look at history, and if we take a step back and look at what's going on in our country right now, aren't we actually watching the dollar become worthless in slow motion? And on top of that, hasn't history shown us? Isn't history replete with examples of other countries who thought they ruled the world, who thought that everything would last forever, only to find out that they would be met by currency collapse? And what would that do to the price of silver and to the price of gold? We're going to talk about that in this video. Again, right? I'm not predicting we're going to wake up tomorrow and that this will be the case. It could. There's a very slight chance. However, like I said, if we look at history and if we look at what's actually going on right now with the Federal Reserve, who has a stated goal to make our currency worthless 2% per year at a time, I think it's something that we need to talk about. And you know what else we need to talk about? Thank you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. I see you. Thank you for being here in the basement. This is not possible without your participation and your support. You're welcome here. I hope you feel like you found a new little home away from home. A lot of us refer to ourselves as basement dwellers, but it's a big deal. Please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. That'd be greatly appreciated. Super chats are really helpful to help support the channel and the family. PayPal donations, any of that stuff. But please do not ever donate anything that you cannot afford. So I was watching a video yesterday. A guy named Noel Lorenzana, CPA, an accountant, huh? This guy made a great video about the value of the dollar going worthless. I want to run out quickly and show you his channel because I was impressed. I actually invited him next week or the following week, if he has time, to come on and talk to us on his thoughts about the potential for the dollar going down. But here's his channel, Noel Lorenzana. I'm sorry. He's got some other videos too that I've not. Well, there's the one I watched, Worthless. He's got one about Fort Knox. Is the U.S. out of gold? Why you should be worried. So hopefully we'll have Noel on here next week. Now, guys, why do we need to worry about the dollar collapsing overnight? Dollars are becoming worthless. Here's some examples, right? Here's some examples. Venezuela, right? Just in recent history, people in Venezuela literally like would wake up, or within the course of a week or a month, the price of everything in their country, because the value of their, what is it, bolivars, I believe is the name of their currency, was collapsing. Over the course of a week, meat, milk, whatever, fuel would go up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. It's real. I work with some Venezuelans that immigrated here to the United States. Mama, right? She's like 78 years old, and her son and his wife, and they will tell me when I talk to them absolutely how horrific it was in Venezuela. And I want to show you a chart of silver. This is the best I could come up with from Venezuela during that period. So if we look here, let me make sure I've got you on the screen, which I do. If we look at this chart, this is, believe it or not, this is the silver price in Venezuela. It's a 5-year chart. We go back to, let's say, January of 2021. Okay, an ounce of silver costs 269, excuse me, 270 Venezuelan bolivar. When the currency collapse hit, as you can see, the price just absolutely skyrocketed. Looks like it got to as high as, is that 5 trillion? Let's see. 5 billion, 5 trillion, whatever the case may be. But that shows you what happened to silver in an environment where in Venezuela, they had a major currency crisis. Can it happen in the United States? Absolutely, it could happen in the United States. There is a big difference between Venezuela and the United States, but there's not that big of a difference. Okay, the other example, Zimbabwe. Right? You've heard of the $1 trillion notes in Zimbabwe. A lot of people have them. They've tried to reset their currency like 5 or 6 times. Now they're trying to hook it to gold, to use like a gold standard, the ZIG currency, right? But now again, I think just recently they revalued that again. Governments and countries have a real hard time with the discipline that's imposed upon them by precious metals, by the gold standard, by the silver standard. So Zimbabwe, same thing, right? Multiple times. What's the classic example of this happening? Germany, Weimar Germany, all right, after World War I, right? You had people that were using wheelbarrows full of cash to buy loaves of bread, right? People would get paid and then rush out to the store to try to spend their money because it was becoming worthless so quickly. Little kids would use stacks of whatever they were, Deutschmarks or Weimar marks, whatever they called them at the time, to build like little castles like Legos. Okay, it can happen. And what's the common, right? What do we see, right? What's the example that all three of those, and there's many other examples. You know, Lynette Zhang has piles of currencies, paper, fiat currencies that have gone to zero. But what's the common thread between all those countries? Too much debt. What's going on in the United States right now? Too much debt, okay? And what do people do in these countries? We talked about this yesterday, so we're just going to go to the headline on this, but what do people do when they live in these countries that have experienced hyperinflation, have experienced currency crisis? They go to gold, they go to silver. And to me, that explains why, here's a great example from the Jerusalem Post about Germany. Gold, still the third most popular investment in Germany, right? Germans remember the stories that they heard from their grandparents, from their parents, about what can happen with paper money. It's happening right now in China. The other night, I have a little job. I work in the evening where I get exposure to a lot of people that are very highly educated, okay? And I'm not real impressed by PhDs, but this guy's a Chinese man from China with a PhD here in St. Louis doing medical research, very smart guy. And the same thing is happening right now in China. People don't trust the currency. People don't trust the banks. People don't trust the stock market. Okay. And they're buying gold. That's the big reason why the Chinese, and now they're starting to buy silver as well. But can it happen? Back to our subject. What would it be like? Okay. What would it be like in the United States if this were to happen? Think about the banks, right? Waking up and that money that you thought you did have in your bank, even though now it's worthless, likely the banks would stop functioning for a period of time. Businesses wouldn't know what to do. It would be mayhem, right? With hyperinflation, the businesses would be absolutely, groceries would be skyrocketing. The stock market would be going crazy. Could the government fix it, right? If we get into this situation, could the government fix it? I don't know. How did they fix the tech bubble? They printed money. How did they fix the great financial crisis? They printed money. How did they fix what happened back in 2020 during that health crisis? They printed money. The only thing, do you see a trend here, guys? Do you see a trend? The only thing, when we look at the examples of what our government has done with the Federal Reserve, which really isn't part of our government, but we'll leave that for a different story. The only examples that we can come up with how they've reacted to crisis situations is what? You got it. Print money. Does that explain why, when we even look at the chart of the US of silver and gold priced in US dollars, why it's continuing to go up? When we realize that since 1971, when President Nixon temporarily, right, took the dollar off the gold standard, that the price of gold has only gone up. I read the other day that the dollar has lost 99% of its value relative to gold since 1971. I mean, what is that telling us? So can it happen? Could you wake up? Imagine, Buttercup. Don't worry. Hopefully I will still be able to do our daily broadcast together, but waking up, and the dollar has lost 80%, 70% of its value. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or next week or the following week or ever, or it will. Like, that's one of my points. It will eventually happen. Okay. It's either going to happen really slowly, like we've seen over the last 50 years, like boiling a frog. You ever hear that? Like, us Americans are like boiled frogs. Slowly, little bit. Some years 1%, some years 2%, some years 5%. A couple of years ago, they stole almost 20% of our buying power. It happens very slowly, or it could happen very quickly. There's nothing that absolutely eliminates that. Think about what's going on 1 week from today, and we're going to talk more about it later. Right? Half the world's an organization that represents whatever it is, half the world's population, the Brics meeting in Russia, right? You got 35, 45, who knows? It's hard to keep track of the number of countries that want to join Brics. What if they decide, I'm just being real here. We're just being real. We cannot absolutely eliminate the prospect that the dollar could face a real crisis at some point, like an immediate, quick crisis. And at minimum, we know that the dollar's facing a crisis in a slow motion pattern. Is that why? I'll ask you, is that why you own silver and gold? I think you're shaking your head up and down with me. That's why. I mean, when you take a step back and look at this, it's absolutely crazy. Okay. Would this be, now this is where it gets interesting. If we were to have this crisis situation, would that be the moment when they want to switch us all onto this new CBDC? Nobody talks about CBDC anymore. That was like the hot topic 19 months ago, right? Isn't that a lot of times when things happen, when nobody's talking about them, nobody's thinking about them? Would a dollar crisis, a paper, unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it, dollar crisis, would that be the moment where the government says, oh my gosh, we know the grocery stores, blah, blah, here, download this app, use the new CBDC. It's hooked into the FedNow program. We'll take care of you, Americans. We don't know. Okay. Or would it be the return to the gold standard? Well, we know what the world central banks are doing with gold. Would that be the time? I think at minimum, a massive crisis, if it were to happen in the dollar, would be the catalyst isn't even the correct word. It would be the aha moment for silver and gold at minimum. Now, the official return to a gold standard, we don't know. We don't know what the world's big central bankers have cooked up. We may get a real good glimpse of what they have cooked up here in 1 week when they have this massive Brics meeting. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. But the dollar would no longer be good as gold, okay? And I'd say this, it's even not just the United States. The whole world is in big trouble right now. We have a worldwide debt crisis, scary situation. Why is that important, right? Because we're talking about $330 trillion in worldwide debt, higher than it's ever been. And the sad part is, right, everybody thinks they're owed that money. Everybody thinks that's coming to them. I mean, think about this. Here's an example. If you're on a pension from let's say you were a union, and I loved unions. I was a union steel worker when I was in college. Let's say I was on the steel workers union pension. And I don't know that, I'm just using this as an example. You're on some type of pension. That pension owns bonds, right? And that pension's ability to pay its pensioners is dependent upon those bonds being good, being real, right? So there's $330 million worth of debt bonds, right? And if those are the real people who think they're owed that money. Even the pensioner, he may not realize it, but he owns some bonds and whatever, the United States Treasury, or maybe whatever, Brazil, who knows? And it's almost impossible for all this debt to be paid back. Okay, so we are in a massive situation right now on a worldwide basis, which is not good. I'm sorry to be so doom and gloom this morning. And the good news is, Let's see. What's the good news? Oh, yeah. Silver and gold have seen this monkey show many times over thousands of years, and they've done just fine. So, bear that in mind. Wait a minute. Here. Bear that in mind as we're talking about the subject. Okay. So, are people going to want to go to a new CBDC? Are people going to want to go to cryptocurrency? That's the other option. Will Bitcoin save the day? Well, if things are too bad, we may not have internet or electricity, right? So, are people going to want to go to the new CBDC? Are people going to want to go to Bitcoin? I would say at minimum, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be moving towards precious metals as the worldwide debt crisis gets worse, as the United States crisis goes worse. I mean, what's the one thing that's been there for everybody, everywhere, providing safety, security for all time? Gold, silver. Think about it. No matter how ugly all this gets, no matter how potentially ugly, how bad the picture we can paint, what's the thing? And don't forget, even gold and silver, security, safety, value. Let me tell you something. I'm going to bring it up one more time. Let me show you my little friend, Mrs. A. She's the best. Okay? I sound like echoes? Hold on, guys. Susie says we have some audio problems. Hello. Hold on. Bear with me. Let me go to audio. Go cancellation. I don't know, Susie. It might just be your computer, sweetheart. There are people saying they hear echoes. Well, guys, I apologize. We may be having some internet. Yeah, we're having internet issues. Okay, so we're having internet issues. Guys, I apologize. Yep, I can see the little symbol on the screen, so I'm just going to do the best I can here. This is my 3-year-old. Even a 3-year-old knows. Even a 3-year-old knows that gold and silver are the most valuable. She told me the other day when I saw her, she wanted a gold ring. And I said, gold, why? And she said, because gold is best. Okay. I just to give you guys an update. I can see, I get a readout up on my screen. Either StreamYard is having some technical problems. I don't believe it's my internet because it is up and cooking. So we're dealing with some technical issues this morning. I apologize for the bad audio. I apologize for the bad video, but really, I know you're not here to look at my pretty face. We're here. Here we go. It's getting better. Now it should be back. It should be better now. Let me know, guys, if things look better. Thank you. A 3-year-old knows it. Okay. Other tangible, real assets will do well. If we face this crisis coming, right, where the dollar does become worth less, other tangible, real assets, what else do you think would do well? A few examples. Real estate could do very well. Oil, right? Forest land, anything real, collectibles. There's all types of other real assets that could do well in that. Because right now, the fact is we look at the dollar collapsing. What do we know? Right? We know that the government is printing money like crazy. We're going to go out and do our daily update of the U.S. debt clock here in a second. We're racking up debt like crazy. And we know also that the world is moving away from the dollar. So think about this. Why is it so scary where we are right now with the dollar? Okay, because fundamentally what our government is doing, racking up all this debt, right, putting us in this horrible financial situation in this country, that's bad for the dollar. While simultaneously, the world is also recognizing that and moving away from the dollar, right? The dollar dominated the world for the last 50 years. Okay, I don't like it. Remember, guys, right? I'm an American. I love my country, but there's this big elephant in the room. Is the United States government has just, it's a tragedy what they're doing with our financial situation in this country, on one hand, at the same time, the world has been saturated with dollars, saturated. The world is saying, bye-bye, we're not interested anymore. Again, I don't like it. It's not good for me. It's not good for my kids. You feel like it's probably not good for your kids either, but it is the reality of what's going on, right? And again, history is replete with examples of what's going of this happening. And even if it doesn't happen in an instant where you wake up, right? At minimum, we know the Federal Reserve is their goal, their stated objective is for the dollar to go down in value by 2% every year. That's what the inflation target is. They can call it we want to keep. Why do we have to have inflation? Let me tell you something. Here's a great example, right? Over decades and decades, when this country was on the gold standard and we had silver in our money, we didn't have inflation anything like we have now. I heard somebody say the other day that we had no inflation. So why do we have to have inflation? I'll tell you why. So they can enrich the bankers. The Federal Reserve is owned by the banks. Why do we have to have inflation? Thank you. Hey, Noel. There's Noel. Yeah, Noel inspired this discussion today. Thank you, my friend. That's Noel. Man, really a great channel, guys. Check it out. I'm telling you, smart guy, and hopefully we're going to have him on here next week. Thank you, Noel. Why do we have to have inflation? Why? That's a good question. So at minimum, we know that the dollar becoming worthless is happening right now. It happened a little faster back in 2022, but it's happening at minimum in very slow motion. What did we just hear last week? The official inflation number was up, and it was at like 2.6%. Okay. Congratulations, right? The Federal Reserve took on I don't know if it was annualized or what it was, but they took 2.6% of your money for the average American who works hard and saves money. Okay. So I beat that one to death. I got in a little trouble yesterday with opening my mouth about the political situation in this country. I have more to say about that in a second. Let's go out and check on the price of gold and silver, though, because we are live, baby. And don't forget, right? My good little friend, that's my cousin Timmy Ivy's little daughter. She's 3 years old, and she thinks gold is best. So do we. All right, let's get back here. All right, and here we are. Let's go out to Pimbex. Wow. So I checked this right before I came live. Silver had actually gone up from being down about 14 cents. I'm going to press the magic button here, and let's see. Okay, silver's down 2 cents, but still 31.20. Gold is hovering right at $2,650 per ounce. Let's go take a quick look here. I want to say thank you to channel sponsor Pimbex, and I was looking at American Silver Eagles earlier, 2024s, yeah, $35.49. Of course, that's at bulk, and that's with a cash or ACH type price. And what I was really shocked by, we talked about this just the other day, the 2024 1 ounce Australian kangaroo for $33.54, basically $2 over spot. Guys, thank you. I want to say thank you to Pimbex for sponsoring Ron's Basement. Yeah, I've worked with them on a personal level for over a year, actually a year and a half, and they sponsored the channel now for over a year. What I feel so good about with them is the overwhelming positive response that I've received from the basement dweller community. People talking to the owners, people getting delivery, everyone, like I said, it's been overwhelmingly positive. So I feel real good in just mentioning to you that you may want to consider checking out Pimbex next time you are in the market for gold, silver, or platinum group metals. You're going to find ultra competitive pricing, great selection, and what is number one paramount in my book, a company that you can trust. All right. So thank you. And remember, if you ever decide to convert part or all of an individual retirement account into precious metals, take your time, shop around. Okay. Take your time. And you may also really benefit from talking to the guys at Pimbex and comparing how many actual ounces of silver you can get for the amount of money that you're thinking about converting silver or gold, for that matter. Thanks, Pembex, for sponsoring Ron's Basement. Are the Brics? Let's talk about the Brics. We are 1 week away from the big Brics meeting, the big Brics meeting. And there's some big news that we need to cover. Let's first go out here to I think, a great summation of what we know from In Gold We Trust. Again, this starts in 1 week. Russia and China have announced to strengthen their military ties. Sri Lanka officially applied. Brics said that it reached a, quote, very good agreement to settle international trade with national currencies. We haven't heard any recent news. There was this speculation about a gold-backed currency, 40%. We'll see what comes of that. Russian and Chinese warships conduct massive joint drills in the Pacific. I think they were surrounding Taiwan. It's very, very crazy right now. Serbia says sees joining Brics as an alternative to joining the EU. And President Putin says 35 countries have confirmed their participation in the upcoming Brics summit in Russia. This is what is happening right now in our world. Okay, we talked about the dollar, potential stress on the dollar, but the Brics summit starts in 1 week. I mean, it's the bifurcation, it's the splitting of the world right now. Remember, guys, this was a world that up until just recently was dominated by the United States, which now it appears the world is splitting. Bifurcating is the fancy way to say that, and that we could see new financial systems, new military alliances. It's going to be very interesting as we go out into the next year, 10 years, 20 years to see how this all develops. But let's run out here and look at one more big piece of news. This came from India. This is how India, their perspective on what is going on with the BRICS summit. From the New Indian Press, 34 countries have now officially applied for BRICS membership. 34, with 10 new members and 10 partners to be announced in the upcoming BRICS summit in Kazan, to be held October 22nd, 1 week from today. Strife-torn nations like Palestine, Syria, and Myanmar have also applied for membership. Prime Minister Modi, and that's what I love about Indian websites, is it's like a video game trying to close out all the pop-ups. But Prime Minister Modi will attend, that's the president of India, the summit, turning it to be his second visit to Russia within a span of 3 months. The Indian president will be the second visit from the Indian president to Russia in 3 months. What does that tell us? Don't forget, this is India with 1.4 billion people, probably the fastest growing economy in the world. 100 million people are going to join the consumer class in India in the next 5 to 10 years, right? And their president isn't coming to Washington. I don't know. Well, I won't go there. Anyway, he's been going to Russia. It'll be his second visit in 3 months. Speculations are rife that the Prime Minister Modi will have a bilateral meeting with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. Here, listen to this. There are nearly 34 countries that have communicated to BRICS for being considered. These include, in alphabetical order, Algeria, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea. My neighbor, one of my best friends across the street, is an Eritrean. Anyway, it's a country right next to Ethiopia, Honduras, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, and this is the video game, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Morocco, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Pakistan, Senegal, South Sudan, Sri Lanka, Palestine, Syria, Thailand, Turkey, Uganda, Uzbekistan, Venezuela, Vietnam, and Zimbabwe. So those are all what we'd say, those are little countries. Add them all together, and they're not. So they're going to add 10 partners, and I believe 10 new members. So this BRICS thing is real. It is growing. This is interesting. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian is expected to be present, which will be his first visit to Russia since he assumed office. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is attending the summit. UN Secretary General is also there. So we have the president of Iran, right? Which is really, think about that. The president of Iran is going to be in Russia for these meetings, for the Brics meeting. Okay. The president of India is going to Russia for the second time. What does that tell us about what is going on in the world right now? Guys, we are facing changes in our world that I want you to think about this. Okay, congratulations, you're in the know. You realize that there's this massive world-changing meeting coming up in 1 week. I want you to think about, I don't know, I would say, what do you say? What percent? Let's do a quiz here. What percent of Americans do you think right now know that the Brics meeting is going to be coming up in 1 week in Russia and how critical it is? I would say maybe 3%. So I'm going to type 3. I'm just curious. I mean, most people in this country are clueless, right? They probably know more about the NFL, which is fine. I'm not putting down football or baseball or anything like that, but they know more about the NFL than they do about world geopolitical changes that can have massive impacts. I mean, this is gonna affect your life. This is gonna affect their life. But hey, they're just kind of out there in the ether. Let's put it that way, because right now we are in the precious metals battle of the ages. This is it. Okay, we got the cage match. All right, don't forget. That's what's going on. It's not just the USA versus Brics or the G7 versus Brics. Right now, what's really happening is a massive fight between the US dollar, okay, and precious metals. It's a cage match. And look, if you and I were in Vegas together having a good time, right? Having a real good time, and we had to bet on that fight. Right? What would we look at? We would say, okay, so the dollar is fighting against precious metals. Okay? Precious metals have been in the same fight, the same exact fight, hundreds of times over thousands of years, and they have a perfect record. And then we could look at the dollar and say, well, the dollar's strong. It's the world's dominant currency. Yeah, sure. But over the last 50 years alone, the dollar has lost significant amounts of its value. All right, over the last year, over the last month, over the last 5 years. What's that statistic that we hear? What's a great example? Food, I know, food cost alone over the last 4 years, 5 years have gone up, what, 30% at minimum? That's the official number. So you got this cage match between precious metals and the dollar. And even me, I don't know about you, but I don't sometimes necessarily really realize that it's going on and realize how lopsided the fight is. It's a lopsided fight. Okay, we got 700 people here in the basement. That's a big deal. Thank you guys for being here. So who are we going to bet on? Where are you going to place your bets? I mean, think about it. If you have to make a bet right now between this stuff and this, okay, here. This nice silver round. That's the show and tell item of the day. Came from Coin Shop Chris. Who are you going to bet on? Huh? Woo! I'm closing my eyes. I'm going to tell you something. This feels a lot better. A lot better. And you know why? Let me give you a couple examples. It's not just you and me. Okay, let's think who else is betting on precious metals. Okay, I got to ring the cowbell. We got 200 thumbs up. Basement dwellers, it's time for me to share something with you, and that is our gratitude and appreciation that you're down here in the basement with us. Okay, 700 people. It's a big deal. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the super chat. Our friend Noel, thank you. Okay, and since we have 200 thumbs up, I'm going to ring the bell. But it's not just you and me and our fellow basement dwellers and all the other people out there, right? We're a part of this big precious metals community. No, it is the central banks that are buying precious metals. Heck, Russia is even talking about silver now. Okay? It's not just us. It's sovereign wealth funds that are buying gold. It's family offices that are starting to buy gold. It's institutional investors. Right? It's been happening in the Eastern countries for a long time. But guess what? It's starting to happen now. And you want to hear something really exciting? Super exciting? Western investors don't really start to buy the precious metal ETFs until about 30 days subsequent to an announcement of a rate decrease by the Federal Reserve. That's a statistical fact. We're what, 20 days out maybe? It feels like 20 days, 3 weeks. We haven't even reached that point yet where we could start to see big inflows into the precious metal ETFs, and that could explode the price of the precious metals. I mean, that's a fact, okay? That's an absolute fact, because all this great price increase that we've had in silver and gold over the last, really year and a half, that's all been done without the help of any Western investment. Actually, outflows for a lot of that period of time. Think about what happens when the richest country in the world, the United States of America, starts to buy the metals again. Okay? And remember, the investment segment of the metals, that's where the big price change happens. That's the margin. Yeah, we know, like with silver, all this crazy amount of industrial demand. We know that, right? But that little section of that market, that investment metal that's out there, it's somewhat limited, especially with silver. So, right, the industrial demand, although it's going up and up and up, remains pretty steady. But where the big boom can occur is in the investment demand, in particular with silver, right? And sure, you and I being stackers, buying whatever, that'll help. But also, if institutional investors start to play along, if people start to buy things like PSLV, the Sprott Physical Silver Trust out of Canada, or in the United States, instead they choose to put their money into the SLV ETF, which I think stores all its silver over at the LBMA in London, England. Right? They got to buy ounces. So it could get real interesting, and it can happen. It can happen, and it can happen very, very quickly. Right? The smartest people, this is a fact, guys, realize that opportunity for, in particular with silver, right, extraordinary price increases, that sits right there in that investment demand arena. And the good news is, and I'll say it one more time, that the price of silver has done pretty well, despite the fact that the investment demand has been decreasing. Okay? So the fact that we're at this low level, right, and really the path of least resistance, the easiest way for the silver investment demand to go will be to the upside. So it could get very interesting. It could happen very, very quickly. If we want to switch back here to the United States economy, we had True Value Hardware claim bankruptcy. That was big news yesterday. Okay, True Value. I was shocked. And they're going to sell themselves. They're like, we can't make it. Post-pandemic, things have been slow. So more great news from the U.S. economy, on top of the fact that we got Madison Square Garden full of people being laid off from Boeing with great benefits and great everything else. But True Value Hardware, really, right? I think they're headquartered in Chicago. Done, gone, right? Well, are they going to be acquired? And again, more. Now, what about? Whoa. Let's go. We have some fun. Let's go on a little field trip, because we got to go check out the. Hold on here. Let me pull you guys up. Let's go and do our daily check of the dollar to silver ratio. One of these days it's going to stop going up, but for now we're on a roll. The new U.S. national debt, we only added $5 billion overnight. No big deal. Okay, we're now, it went up again. The dollar to silver ratio now sitting at 7.19. We just over the weekend, I think it was, celebrated $700. Again, I'll say it every day. This means for each 1 ounce of silver that's produced on a worldwide basis, the United States government is adding $720 of new dollars via the M2 money supply. Wow. Let's just check on, the paper to silver ratio remains rather consistent there at 408. Darn it. I forgot to pull this up. Hold on here, guys. See if I can find this real quick. Health insurance. Here we go. Canada's debt clock. Darn it. I think it was Trevor sent this to me. Canada has a debt clock. Canada's in better shape than us, though. Canadian taxpayers, their federal debt sits at, what is that? $1.2 trillion. Canadians are in much better shape than us. They only owe about 29,000 Canadian dollars per person in national debt, which is probably about 20,000 US, roughly, give or take. So it's not just us, it's those Canadians as well. And we know what's going on all around the world, right? Worldwide debt. I hear 330 trillion. Who knows? Probably 350 trillion by now, right? And remember what Don Indris taught us. A trillion is a million times a million, right? A trillion is a real number. Nothing will drive the price of silver and gold like uncertainty. I've got a couple more scary updates for you. First, I want to say thank you to channel sponsor First Mining Gold. They make this live stream possible. They're a Canadian gold development stage company with 2 multi-million ounce projects in Canada, gold in the ground in Canada. You can learn more about them at firstmininggold.com. And Fortuna Mining, they're an active mining company. They mine silver and gold in Latin America, and they mine gold in West Africa. You can learn more about them at fortunamining.com. On the world stage, all right, we know what's going on with the Brics meeting in 1 week. Massive changes. But on top of that, that's uncertainty. But uncertainty squared are the conflicts going on in the world. Apparently, okay, from what I read this morning, there were spy drones that flew over one of our major Air Force bases, Langley Air Force Base. I need to learn more about that. But guys, that's not a good thing, right? Not a good, like, apparently there were drones, 20 feet long drones that flew over one of our, in Langley, I believe, is somewhere out on the east coast of the United States. We get more clarification. Ukrainian President Zelensky is saying that he believes North Korean forces are fighting in the Ukraine right now. Okay. That situation is very scary. But on top of it, to make matters worse, apparently North Korea, there's a big potential for conflict between North Korea and South Korea. The North Koreans blew up, exploded, boom, all the roads that connect North Korea to South Korea, blew them up. Okay. So that's the world we're living in right now. We got the Brics who are doing their thing, moving away from the dollar, moving away from the United States. But at the same time, and then of course, we have war in the Middle East. We'll see how that plays out. We have the war in Ukraine. We have North Korea, South Korea. We have China, Taiwan. Woof. Oh, yeah. And a presidential election coming up here in a little bit. Oh, I almost forgot. I got in trouble. Hey, hold on, guys. I got in some trouble yesterday because I went on a little diatribe about the fact that I can't believe we can't come up with a system in this country to accurately count votes. Okay. So I wrote this out. I said, if we can land men on the moon, this is critical, and create self-landing rockets, track every penny on the New York Stock Exchange. I was talking to one of my friends last night, and he was like, I guess he has his insurance with USAA. He's like, they've never been off by a penny. Like, we can do all these things. Look at what Amazon can do. The company Amazon right now, right? The technology that we have in this world. But you're really going to try to tell me that we can't come up with an electronic system, reliable, verifiable, auditable, to count 220 million votes in this country? I mean, doesn't that make you, it's not just the anger that they can't do, but why is that the case? And, you know, this very smart man that I talked to last night, he was like, well, maybe that's because they like the fact that it's an antiquated system. And possibly, he's like, maybe that's the only thing the two parties can agree on, because they know that it gives them this I mean, it's just insane to me. Not a political statement, just that if think about this, if voting is the most important thing that we do as American citizens, right? If it's the most important thing, then why isn't there massive amounts of energy and resources directed at coming up with a system that can accurately count votes? You got blockchain, you got, database. I'm not a techie. But this is not, we're not talking about landing somebody on the moon, which we did 50 years ago. We're talking about counting votes, all right? Having a database of eligible voters and then tallying who voted and what their votes were, and that it's open, not open in terms of who voted for who, but I just got a message from Jake from Jake's Custom Parts. I'll do that in 1 second. But that it's, that you can verify that your vote was registered and counted. Give me a break, right? We aren't talking about landing the man on the moon, and we did that 50 years ago. Right? I mean, if that's, and then I'll promise I'll be quiet. But if that's what we're facing, look, guys, the post-election period is shaping up to potentially be the period where we could have some real issues in this country, and it's all going to be about what? Potentially fighting over the votes. Right? Fighting over the accuracy of the votes. You can't, I am so ticked off that that's the case, and that you're going to tell me, oh no, we can't come up with a system for accurate. I mean, give me a break, buttercups, not you. I mean, these politicians. And I think it is true. I think they both like the fact that it's screwed up. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm getting Susie's talking to me. Jake's talking to me. All right. We're going to go check the silver price. Let's hope there's some good news here. Oh, boy. So here we are back on channel sponsor, Pimbex. And I call that little golden triangle the Pimbex magic button. I'm going to press it, and we're going to take a deep breath, guys. We're going to see what's going on with silver here. Whoa. Hey, thank you, Jake. Thank you, Susie. Guys, that's all we got to do is be on these live streams, and the price of silver goes up. What a pleasant surprise. Again, thank you, Jake from Jake's Custom Parts, channel moderator and silver price updater, and a heck of a good guy, lover of pizza. We love you, Jake. Thanks for all your efforts for the channel. We love Big Tim the Silvershire and the one and only Annie Oakley, and of course, the lovely and talented and probably one of the sweetest people you would ever meet. I'll tell you one thing about her. She's the exact same way in the house that she is outside. It's like she's the most consistent, kind, loving person. And I'm going to tell you this too about Susie. I think she's like one person that I know who actually gets prettier as the days go by. She's very beautiful. Anyway, is that it? I think that's it. All right, I'll try to read where you're from. I know it's our favorite part of the show. And this demonstrates how diverse, how spread out, right? And unique, because you're special and unique. We all are. We are. Okay. I will do my best to read your name. Tell me where you're from. Okay. Put it in tell us where you're joining us from, because it's incredible to see how diverse the silver and gold community is. So I'm waiting. I'm looking. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to have to, here, I can look up here. Gold's up $10. Yes. Okay. Grass Valley. Joe from Grass Valley, California. Kat from Florida. Eric from Arizona. Manitoba. Ghost. Carrie, North Carolina. Columbia, Missouri. All right. East Midlands. Mad Cow. Susie's in the living room. Ron from Waco, England. Wow. Look at how diverse this is. Australia. Hello. We got a lot of people from Australia. Italy. Christopher, I skipped you. I'm sorry. I can't read them all. Dana, Dane, DC. Old Dirty B, ODBG. What? They're going too fast. Oklahoma. Holland. That's where my grandpa's from. I don't count. Keep putting it up there if I miss you, okay? Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, New York, Sydney, Australia, Washington, Germany. All right, Rudy. Good to see you, my friend. Georgia. West Coast, Australia. A lot of Australians. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Zena. Oh, thank you, Hal. Guys, we are everywhere. Wow. You got it, Hal. Okay. Is now those things aren't going anymore. There, Ontario, Texas, Missouri, CMO survivalists. Balka, the moon, Tennessee, Chicago. I went to DePaul University, my friend, Camp Oregon. Oh, hold on here. I got to stop this. There we go. Okay. Idaho. Wow. Alabama. Love Alabama. Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, Iraq. Wow, Victor. Thank you for your service. Be safe, my friend, Victor. Okay. Dwight from California. Gianni from California. Use your auction voice. Yeah. From Tennessee. Rodney, Ontario, Texas, Missouri. Wow, guys. Joe Camp, Oregon, Boise, Idaho, Ohio, Rapid City, South Carolina. Hi, Drew from Idaho, California, Tennessee, Steve from Texas, Scotland. Wow, my buddy John Nelms, who I grew up with and played soccer with all the way through college, Mr. Brian, is in Dundee, Scotland. He's the president of the Dundee Dark Blues. I think he owns part of the team too. Good guy. One of the nicest, smartest guys you'll ever meet. Super nice guy. Bend, Oregon, Colorado Springs. All right. I was just in Susie. Hold on. Susie's saying something. Are you saying 300? Okay, I'll ring the gong here. I'm going to read Colorado, Sweden. Man, we are everywhere. Thank you, guys. Let me ring the gong. We got 300 thumbs up. Sorry for the tech problems earlier. Apparently, there were some internet issues. This is for you all over the world. 3 rings of the golden gong. Have a great day. Hey, let's hope silver and gold continue going up. Everything's been against silver and gold. Let's just say, you got to realize that even the China news over the weekend was bad news. Remember? China was supposed to put out this massive stimulus and it didn't happen. And that was supposed to crash the price of silver and gold yesterday and today. They're just like, they keep fighting back. Everything it's like Rocky Balboa, our friend silver and gold. I mean, they just keep coming back, right? I mean, and then on the charts, you look at the charts and the inverse head and shoulders and the giant teacup formation, cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we are really in a great, great period of time, I believe, for silver and gold. What makes it even better is getting to spend it with you. Thank you for being here. Okay, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.